I have as my guest for the first segment on my left, Tom H. Hastings. He's with the Director of the Peace Voice program and a bunch of other stuff that we'll talk about as we get through the half hour. And also we have Erin Niemela.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Niemela.
All right, and she's with the Portland Peace Team, and we'll talk a little bit about what they're doing. There's an event that they're going to be having in the Saturday the 15th. That's next Saturday, and we're going to be talking about that as well. But we need to learn more about what the Peace Team and what Tom is up to. I know you're a professor at PSU, right?
Yes. Yeah,
at
least for the week.
At least for the week,
yeah.
Until you can get through the week.
Right.
And the event coming up is a Peace Team nonviolence training. So that nonviolence training might be a good place to start. What that's all about?
Sure. Well, there have been about maybe a dozen peace teams across the United States, and the sort of mothership started in Michigan. It actually started by doing some nonviolent intervention work and de-escalation work at Ku Klux Klan rallies
really
in Michigan.
needed.
Yeah, this is 20-some years ago. And there would be a lot of threatened violence, and they did such a good job of coming between the basically people who were ready to do each other in, that they got a lot of good press and even thank you letters from the local sheriffs and police, and they were able to keep the peace where it looked like there was going to be violence. There was a lot of violence threatened. So that sort of started this idea of peace teams, and right about at that time, the work that I was doing was with the tribes in northern Wisconsin during the reaffirmation of their treaty rights. And so that there was a lot of threatened violence at the boat landings where they would go to exercise their ancient fishing rights.
That happened right up here in Washington as well in the 70s.
Yep. And so we had hundreds of people trained to go out to these boat landings to accompany small groups of Native Americans, surrounded oftentimes by 2 or 3, even 350 or 400 very hostile people. The police were faded back, and we basically were unarmed, nonviolent security. So this has been an experiment that's been ongoing, and we're in the tradition of nonviolent accompaniment, nonviolent de-escalation teams that have been operating now for about 40 years, including Christian Peacemaker teams, Peace Brigades International, and Witness for Peace, and a number of other groups that try to protect people who are just trying to do community organizing.
So are you there protecting both sides?
Yeah,
not just one particular.
Yes, trying to be there as a peaceful presence, trying to de-escalate any violence, and when we are told ahead of time that by the police, for example, that we're basically we're sanctioned to do what we need to do, and we say no any violence, and so it's our mission to try to de-escalate violence, whether it's on the part of a demonstrator, a counter-demonstrator, or the police, or any party at the scene, if we've accepted that role.
I'm glad you threw that part with the police, because in my experience here in town is just their presence escalates.
Well, and this is part of the role of any nonviolent security, is to do liaison work with the police. Aaron's done this. I've done it where we stress to them, we're there. We would like you to fade back. We're there to bring a nonviolent presence, a calmative presence, and that's our role that day, rather than escalating the situation. There's nothing wrong with escalating conflict. I mean, this is what we do when we take to the field and try for some public policy change or corporate policy change by offering nonviolent resistance. That's very different from saying that we're going to escalate to some kind of violence, and that's what we're there to say. That has no place in our movements. If a movement wants to use violence, they won't be calling us, and we won't be going out on their behalf. We're interested in serving nonviolent campaigns and movements.
It seems to me that you're there to bring, and besides nonviolence, a little reason to situations that are very emotional. The police aren't known for bringing reason into situations. They're there to just break heads and to arrest people and to create a situation where they just force things on, and you're there to, it seems to me, to have folks de-escalate it themselves, just point the way to them.
Yeah, well, even so, for example, the last night of Occupy, there was no Portland peace team at that point, but just as individuals, people would go out. I went to every single squad unit of police, then they were standing around ready to do whatever they were going to do. And I simply said to each and every one of them that, you're going to lose points with the public if you hurt people tonight. This is, the ultimatum. We're going to clear out Occupy, and they ultimately they did in the wee hours of the morning. But the idea is to tell to the police in that particular situation, why would you make a black mark for yourself by hurting people? My agenda and the agenda of, I'm assuming anybody on a peace team, is to lower the level of harm. Now, it can be done by, in a number of ways, but by appealing to the reason, by saying, why would you give up your image as public servants, as people who are assigned with your badge to protect? Why would you be giving up that image by going and hurting people?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And so you've been involved with this organization for how long? And
since its inception, about October. So I've been going to the monthly meetings and doing the trainings and helping to do the police liaison work with certain groups, and also de-escalate at protests and demonstrations. So.
Like, for instance, which ones have you worked with?
So we had a presence at the federal building Syria anti-military intervention for Syria protest. Also with the postal defenders. Jog my memory. There's been several.
Well, and we also went out with other de-escalation people or nonviolent security people when Kitzhaber signed the bill that gave driving rights, or the possibility of driving rights, to people who were quote illegal aliens. Yeah. And it was the first outdoor signing of a bill. It was right in the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombing, so tensions were a little high. And so when we were out there, we were just trying to be a calming presence. It was a very good day. It's a family day, a lot of families out there, and there were many hundreds of people. So we just sort of had our antenna up and we're watching. And what we have every time, almost invariably, is one or two incidences of maybe a little bit of de-escalation. Nancy Newell's another member of our team, and she basically got us involved in doing some de-escalation work when the Portland teachers decided if they went to the Schnitz to vote on whether they're going to strike or not, and that is a controversial issue. Mm-hmm. So we went out, and there were other people out there too. We just sort of helped out, and there were two incidences where, there was somebody got pretty upset, and we were able to calm things down a little bit.
Now that you mentioned Nancy, I should thank her, because it was Nancy Newell who made the arrangements for both guests tonight. So she's sitting here with us in spirit, because she's involved in this as well. And so you've been at some of these. Have you had to personally de-escalate situations? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
and that ranges from people who are not part of the protest or the demonstration at all, who maybe are a bit off message or causing a stir because of what they're saying, or maybe our people are getting a little frustrated with their presence, to people in the movement just simply getting those heightened emotions and not taking into consideration the sort of control of what's going on and what it looks like to the outside. And we try to really focus on the perception of just order, particularly for the media, because the media has a tendency to cover demonstrations in terms of politics in a way that's really negative. They focus on violence, they focus on people who are outliers, they focus on smashed windows, all that stuff, and it really delegitimizes what people's valid concerns are. And so working to sort of intervene on behalf of nonviolence and sort of limit the amount of that going on can really help boost the media presence and the media image of these demonstrations. So there's these added benefits to the whole, peace team idea.
So you've been at it for quite a while then. So you find this fulfilling then.
Absolutely. And you know what? It isn't just demonstrations or political issues. It's everyday life. I had some neighbors that had a conflict over a fence.
Ah, good point.
And there were some chainsaws involved. And some people were drinking, and I'm, 5'4", and I just walked across the street through the mud. And I had the courage and the confidence to do that with the training to do that. And talk to these grown adults about what was going on with, their conflict, and really help them sort of just lower the volume, so that they could say, you know what, it's not worth my job, it's not worth harming, it's not worth my own harm to take this any further. And it really does, de-escalate the situation. So it's not just about the political stuff, it's everyday life stuff too.
And once you tamp things down, people are probably, and maybe not out loud, but they're grateful for a way out.
Right, yes. It helps them save face quite a bit.
You
right?
bet. That's what I'm thinking. Well, so we're into the program a little while. I have some notes here, some questions, but we might talk a little bit about the training that you're doing this on the 15th.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. This is something that is being supported by student fees at Portland State University through the student activities and through our student group, Students United for Nonviolence, SUN. And Joy Henry is the main organizer of that. She's also a master's candidate, as is Erin, in our graduate program in conflict resolution. So we are bringing in 8 trainers from this Meta Peace team. Their base is Michigan, but several other trainers live elsewhere in the United States. So we're bringing them all in, and it's going to be a full 8-hour session. We're asking people who do sign up for this that they commit to being there for the whole time, because this is quite a group of trainers we're bringing in. And right now, we're to the point where folks who want to sign up are going to be on a waiting list. We'll try to shake that out in the next few days, but the capacity for the training is about 100 people. Right now we have more than 100 people signed up, 130 some, so we do have a little waiting list, but as we've noted, these things kind of shake out in the last few days, and so people can still sign up for that. And if they go on Facebook, they can go to Students United for Nonviolence, and they could also go to the Portland Peace Team, I think, as well, on Facebook.
All right, so that's a way for people to join in there. You mentioned there's 8 people coming in from 8 different places in the country. Now, these are, you say it's a national organization, but I imagine these are all autonomous places that have their own issues. There may be, some of the same issues involved in all, maybe abortion rights or whatever's going on with the different protests and rallies. But so each one will have some of their own anecdotes or whatever to add to it then.
Yeah, there's the people from the Minnesota team. Their biggest event was the Republican National Convention. You can imagine a couple of small nonviolent peace teams going out and trying to contain those conflicts.
Ted Nugent or something.
Yeah, they needed their hockey sticks in all their pads.
Yeah.
Being Minnesota, but the team from Washington, D.C., as you can imagine, is very busy all the time. There's a very busy team up in Seattle. There's a Canadian team in Boston, Detroit, number of towns, and it's all in one network called the Shanti Sena Network. Shanti Sena was sort of Gandhi's final dream. In fact, he was headed for a Shanti Sena conference, which was to start 2 days after he was assassinated. And his dream was basically a giant international or transnational nonviolent security force that would be able to stop wars. That was his final dream in life. And there have been various sort of attempts at this and iterations. And what's happening in North America is the Meta Center for Nonviolence, which is run by a former student of ours and graduate of our conflict resolution program, was asked by the Nonviolent Peace Force, which is a global peace force, nonviolent interposition force deployed right now in Sudan, Colombia, and they've had a big presence in Sri Lanka, etc. But they said, we are no longer going to be involved in the peace team activities in North America. We would like you to pick this up. So they contacted us, and we hosted their initial gathering in Portland in the summer of 2011 or 12, and they called themselves the Shanti Sena Network. So this is the first sort of mass training that they're holding since then. They've been doing trainings all over, and what we do in the Portland Peace Team is we have a monthly meeting, and we do peer-to-peer trainings. So we all come with just simulations that interest us, and we train. I mean, we use the same sort of philosophy that a soldier or the police or an EMT is. You have to have theory, then you have, and the education that comes so you can develop a theoretical understanding of what you're trying to do. Then you have to have training, and then you have to drill. Until
And that's
you
what the
develop,
simulations are about. with the
exactly.
drill,
You
yeah.
develop, Erin, I mean, she labeled it as muscle memory. And it's creating neural pathways and widening those neural pathways so that you do tend to take a natural reaction to something because you've developed that nature. And I think for me, as a very imperfect old hockey player from Minnesota, I have to get in touch with my inner better person before I do this out in public. Because I have a much easier time in private accessing my inner jerk than I do my inner Buddha or my inner Jesus or something like that. Now, some people may be like,
No.
Well, so you're nonviolent by choice rather than temperament.
I have to try to get there, yes.
I see. Well, Aaron, he's had a lot of good things to say about this, and I'm kind of wondering this idea of simulations. Have you gone into these trainings and come up with your own simulations?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's a we did the training with the chainsaws, actually. We talked that out. I wrote up several different particular situations that we could role play. And role playing is really effective because it allows you to tap in emphatically to what you're doing. So you can actually be the person who's angry and then switch and be the person who's trying to de-escalate that angry person. So that's really effective. The other thing that we do that I really enjoy is a hassle line, which basically just allows you to yell. And I have anger management issues, so that really helps.
A hustle line?
Hassle.
Hassle line.
So you're standing in front of each other and yelling and getting angry, and then you're trying to compose yourself. So you're really focused on breathing and I know I'm being yelled at, but it's okay. And I know this person is not really, really mad at me. It's really the situation, and just gathering your thoughts so that you don't lash out. Because it is a rational choice. It's a practical choice. And it doesn't have to be about morals either. It's just simply, this is the more practical way to handle it.
So you're dealing with two battles in you, the battle in front of you and the battle inside you.
Right, because conflict's just, in our culture, it tends to bring up negative feelings. And so before I started doing this, when I saw a conflict on the street, I might, put my blinders on or get a heightened, emotional reaction. But now I feel drawn to listening, at least. Is this going to be something that might turn into violence? How do I know? What are the signs?
Sure.
Should I be closer in case? So that's a different feeling.
Sounds like you've learned to use your adrenaline, how to use it rather than how to allow it to push you over the edge and
Right.
and react, beyond a reasonable. So, yeah, also, I was thinking that Tom and I were talking earlier, and he mentioned the Westboro Baptist Church folks. Were you involved in that one? You weren't in that one? No, because that to me would really, when they start showing up at funerals and start showing,
tricky, yeah.
calling people, they deserve to die because they're in the army, and good thing that they're dead. I can't think of any more buttons to push than that.
Yeah, the first time that I ran across those folks was actually back in northern Wisconsin. We got a call, my co-trainer and I got a call from some church people in Duluth, Minnesota, saying, we've been contacted by this Westboro Baptist Church that they are coming to Duluth to save us from going to hell. And they're very provocative, and we need some nonviolence training. And there were so many people signed up for this nonviolence training because of this threat from the Westboro Baptist Church. that we had to actually double our sessions and hold them in this big church for 2 Saturdays in a row just to prepare for this. And one of the ministers that was taking the training said, I've been thinking of myself as this pacifist and very, I'm hard to ruffle. And he said, but I ran across this Fred Phelps at a religious convention about 3 years ago, and he came and accosted me, and within minutes I had decked him. And he said, so I need some nonviolence training. It was really
I
interesting.
think we all would in that situation.
Yeah, I know. This peace guy, he laid him out, and that's what they feed off of this.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want.
Yeah, so they targeted PSU because at that time there was a new Q Center, and they said, well, if you're going to have this gay thing on campus, then we're going to target you. And it was so funny because they came to Portland when Sam Adams was mayor to target the Q Center. They forgot that we had a gay mayor. That was really interesting. And then they went down to
Television.
Silverton because there was a transgender mayor, but they skipped the main show. But it was very interesting because the vets all said, at our request, because we said ahead of time, we want everybody to come and come in a good way so that we can help to keep this thing calm, because they're very provocative. If we attack them, we just give them what they want. It's how they raise money. You go to their website, they don't play around like the Ku Klux Klan does with saying, oh, we're not a hate group. They're a hate group. Their website is God hates fags dot something or other.
Yeah.
So they're an overt hate group, and they come with these. So we had this ahead of time outreach, and the vet said, okay, we can't come in the way you want us to come, so we're not going to come at all, because they would have laid them out.
They would have escalated it, yeah.
Yeah, and so we had students come around, and they were great. I mean, they came with signs that said, like, because the Westboro Baptists, they would come with signs, God hates you, and God hates Portland, and, all this completely provocative stuff. Students were coming with signs like, God hates fuzzy little kittens. And, it was just humor. And it completely disarmed the whole thing. And so the police stayed back like we asked them to. And the whole thing was handled with, it was easy. They had no effect on Portland. Is basically they had to go home with their provocative tail between their legs because they failed to rouse us up.
Sure. Well, violence is only going to beget violence. You can't disarm violence with violence.
Right.
It just seems to me that it's a no-brainer. And I've been going over some of the notes for I guess the different things that you hope to achieve at this event coming up a week from tomorrow. And here it says listening and communication skills, and I was thinking about that. I was wondering, Aaron, what exactly does it? Obviously, it means that you listen to what's going on and you communicate. But what do they train you to communicate?
Well, part of listening is listening is understanding. I mean, you can't really know how you're going to de-escalate a situation unless you know what that situation is actually about. So when you're listening to someone talk about their problem, whatever it is, they're angry because these people just don't know what they're talking about, and you can listen through that and tap into some of their deeper, needs, basically. And then when you communicate back to them, it's more about reaffirming what they're saying. Yes, I understand how that would make you feel really angry. Yeah, I can tap into that in myself too, because if I've been really listening, I know where that is in me, right? I've been in that situation where I've seen someone say or do something that really ruffled me. So, you're listening and then you're communicating that back through a reframing. So, yes, I absolutely understand, how that might feel. And that actually, in and of itself, calms people down, because we have this innate need to be heard and recognized and validated and affirmed. So that in itself is just a really great step. Right, and then we just keep doing that over and over and over again. Maybe Tom has more to say about that, but in my experience, it's just continually reaffirming until you can either, escort someone away because they're ready to go, they're done with their, issue, or they just stop automatically because there's nothing left to say.
It strikes me that there's so many different layers of what could be going on, and when people are getting very incensed, they're usually maybe reacting to one or two of those, and possibly those aren't even the ones that's going on. You know, they could the issue could be one thing, but it could threaten their job, and they may be dealing with something up here when it's really they're worried about their family.
Right, exactly. They
And
need to
it's-
feed their family. Yeah.
They need to just pinpoint those. That's what I meant by layer after layer.
I'd like to give one little acknowledgement and shout out to the people who created this method in the first place. And trainers from all over the world now use this method. It was created by Bonnie and Cecil at Love Makes a Family right here in Portland. Bonnie Tinker.
Bonnie Tinker.
Yeah, and you know we lost her a few years ago.
I remember
sadly.
that. Very sad.
Yeah, and Cecil Prescott, and they came up with this technique of de-escalation that literally has gone global now. And it starts off with calming yourself, and then the first step in it is listening. Because what happens with violence oftentimes is that, okay, if you don't hear what I have to say, or if I feel like you're going to interrupt me and you're not going to allow me to say it, this is how you're going to hear me then.
It just shouts louder and louder and comes to violence then.
Yeah, I've been to jail and prison. This is how it is. It escalates like this, and then finally it's this. And so if you intervene and say, "What? Tell me more," you know, what? Somebody actually wants to hear what I have to say. It's like they're redirected. It completely knocks them off balance. It's that in the middle of all this cacophony, somebody is saying, "Step over here with me and really tell me what you're talking about." And then you have to actually listen. It can't be pretend. You have to actually focus in and pay attention to what it is that is, like you say, it might be something deeper. They need to, be able to speak for a minute before they get around to really telling you what's on their mind. And then they don't need to do this anymore.
Sure. That makes sense. I'm wondering if the second the group from the second segment is here. I need to be let know when that happens. So they are here. All right. So we'll have a few more minutes here. One thing we could do is you could either one of you could talk a little bit about the event coming up next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, which is what this whole thing is about, is to try to train people who are interested in this. This isn't just a way to go out into protest. This is just a way of a mentality that you could take with you every day.
Well,
seems to me.
one thing we want to do as the Portland Peace Team is we want groups who can use our services as a peace team to get in touch with us. So Nancy Newell is the one who connected us to Jobs as Justice and to all of the offshoot groups like the Postal protesting shutting down postal distribution centers and post offices. And that one was interesting because they actually used us for a couple of times, and then they did one without us, and there was bloodshed.
Oh no!
And then they got Aaron back with, and at the end of the day, Aaron had taken care of the media, the police, and de-escalated folks, and they were
Good for you.
Yeah, I got all these emails, because I wasn't not there. They were just gushing about all this fantastic work that Aaron had done. It really makes a difference. So these are the skills that we hope to help at least start giving to people from these various trainers, and then we'd like to recruit people, A, if they're in groups that can use our services, or B, if they want to join the Portland Peace Team.
And so that's going to be going on when and where?
Saturday, March 15th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then we'll have a little social hour afterward. Show up in the morning and there'll be coffee and a continental breakfast, lunch on your own, and a full day. There's no cost. You get a manual and a lot of love.
And like I was reading this a little while ago, but you're going to have introduction, then you're going to talk about who is the MPT, but creating safe spaces, expectations of the day, what is nonviolence, listening and communication skills, like we've been talking about here tonight, responding to violence and de-escalation, and tools for groups and gatherings, which is modified according to what's going on. So this sounds like to me, like I said earlier, this is something that can be used in everybody's everyday track through life, not just when there's serious conflict, because we go through conflicts all the time that are on a minor level.
One of the trainers is, if anybody's seen Michael Moore's film Capitalism: A Love Story,
I've heard about
there's
that.
an old priest with white hair in there, and I've known him. His name is Peter Doherty, and he'll be one of the trainers. And he's the oldest one, and he's got so much experience, and everybody loves Peter. So come, if for no other reason, you got to meet Peter Doherty. Force of nature.
Forces of nature, and I'm sure that a lot of these the 7 others will have their own important perspective to bring as well, and their own stories of the things that they have had to face in the past. You know, we have to be going here, but the one thing that I was thinking is probably would be the most volatile, other than the Westboro Baptist Church, would be, you know, anti-abortion and abortion people bumping heads. And it seems to me that you know, with doctors being killed and things like that, that would be a pretty serious one. I don't think it's happened in this town, but it has in other towns.
Well, some of the stuff has happened in this town, and in fact, there's going to be at least one, and I think more than one, folks from Planned Parenthood who will be joining us that day.
Good, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's about it. We've gone through our half an hour and a little over. I thank you both for showing up.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
you did a
Jim.
great job. And Tom, as always, well, you know, let's do this again at least once a year and let folks know that it's a violent world. All you got to do is turn on that tube and you realize how violent things are in this world. You know, just recently it's in the Crimea, but it's still going on in Syria, still going on in Africa, blood diamonds. I mean, you know, it's a world that needs a lot more de-escalation.
Well,
And
we're
we have the
sending-
capacity to do that in ourselves. Every single person does. There is no person that cannot do de-escalation work. Everyone can.
All right.
We're sending Erin to Pakistan pretty soon, and she'll stop by. She'll swing by Crimea on the way.
Take care of the
You do
small
great
stuff.
work,
Yeah.
Jim. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for coming on.